The question came in, how can we explain the conflicts between a belief in a young Earth and the scientific information found that supports an old Earth? And I'm going to reframe it this way. How do we understand the information science gives us about the age of the Earth with what we read in the Scriptures, specifically Genesis?
Okay, well, I want to draw a distinction between theistic evolution, old Earth creationism, and young Earth creationism. Young and old Earth creationism are against the general theory of evolution. They both believe that God created all the various kinds of life. They just disagree on the age of the Earth and universe. They stand against theistic evolution, and I myself think that theistic evolution undermines the church because it's neither biblically justifiable nor is it scientifically mandated. There's not enough scientific evidence to require belief in it, although people aren't being told that. But there is a lot of scientific evidence against the theory of evolution so that you can be an intelligent person knowledgeable of the facts and say, I don't buy the theory. So, theistic evolution, in my view, and I'm editing a book with a group of scholars in Great Britain and in North America right now on why Christians should not be theistic evolutionists, and we're going to have about 25 scholars in this book, scientists, philosophers, theologians, biblical scholars, because theistic evolution undermines people's confidence in the Bible. Now, the young Earth, old Earth issue is different. I have not been a young Earth creationist for I changed my views in around 1980, 81, because I felt like two things were true. Number one, there were enough Old Testament scholars in evangelical seminaries and colleges that loved the inerrant word and were faithful to the text that were arguing for an old Earth from the text. And these were people that were respected members of the evangelical community. The people that are arguing for theistic evolution from the Old Testament are fringe scholars, and they are not what I would consider to be members in good standing with the evangelical community. So I go to a meeting years ago, and here's Bruce Waltke from Dallas Seminary, who has a PhD in Old Testament studies from Harvard and knows about 11 languages. Here is Gleason Archer, who taught at Trinity Evangelical Divinity School, has a PhD from Harvard in Old Testament studies, and knows 11 languages. These guys could go on an archaeological dig and pick something up and read it right there in the ground. They were geniuses. Waltke was a young Earth creationist. Archer was an old Earth creationist. They both believed in an inerrant Bible, and they both knew their stuff. So I said to myself, if there are two views of a text, and both of them are within the framework of plausibility, as judged not by me, because I read the text as an American, and the way I was trained to read the text, and I can't see it any other way, but as judged by our Old Testament scholars in recognized solid biblical institutions. So if that group of people are divided about an interpretation of a text, my view, and they're solid, my view is that these both should be options for the evangelical community. Now, if one of those solves a lot of problems the other doesn't have from science, you go with that one. Young Earth creationism has horrendous problems with science. It is highly likely not to be true. Old Earth creationism, on the other hand, harmonizes much better with the science. So, if I can find a view that addresses scientific problems better than another one, I'll take it, only if both options are already within the framework of faithfulness to the text, as judged by are Old Testament faithful scholars who spend their lives reading this text. The reason I wouldn't be a theistic evolutionist is the Old Testament scholars say that is not an appropriate, that stretches the text too far. Plus, I don't think there's enough scientific evidence. If you're going to be a young earth creationist, that's okay. You're probably going to have to say that there was an appearance of age or something like that and go with that. I think that's the best thing that you should probably do.